combat mode.
It's mech combat time again, courtesy of From Software's Armored Core 5, a more action-y brand of mech warrior game. These aren't your skyscraper-sized mechs, they're smaller, more agile warriors, proving that it's not the size that counts, it's how you balance your weight and energy consumption. You can, of course, customize your mechs, because what's a game about robots without deciding between the heat-seeking missiles or the UAV? And does this extra ammo canister make my robo-booty look too big? From Software is, of course, the studio behind the venerable and amazing series of games that includes Dark Souls and Demon Souls. A moment of silence for how awesome that is. But that doesn't mean Armored Core is anything like those two. It's been around a lot longer, and it's giant mech robots. How similar can they be? Well, surely they can design good combat. That's gotta be a feature, right? It actually takes a good day of experimentation to find out. Armored Core does a terrible job of explaining itself to newcomers, story included. Not much is told to you other than there's a lot of war-y stuff going on. We eventually remembered that occasionally games have manuals in them that explain things. But that didn't have anything useful either. So you'll have to fumble through the weapon help screens for a while to figure out CE stands for chemical energy, TE stands for thermal energy, KE stands for kinetic energy, but you'll have to ask your good friend the internet if you want that deeper level of understanding of how combat actually works, such as the difference between thermal defense, thermal resistance, and plain old armor, and the relationship between all of them when you decide to bathe in lethal plasma. So this is basically one of those games with heavy customization and planning before a mission that doesn't tell you anything about that, it just drops you straight in. But happily, one thing in common with Dark Souls is that customization not only affects your stats, but practical factors as well. Using tank treads might be more energy efficient, but it'll take much longer getting up ramps because you can't jump. Weight is a big concern as well, it affects movement speed and jump height. With each new configuration, it takes a bit of time to get used to how it handles. Swapping in that energy sword makes you deadly in close range, but makes power regen slowly, so you can't get away with as much boosting and jumping. Most of Armored Core's customization revolves around mobility versus utility. Are you a brawler? Are you going to stick and move? Are you going to snipe from a distance? You're not just designing a mech, you're designing a strategy. And even though the story mode is a bit of a joke, the boss fights go some way to showing you different strategies you might not have thought of. That is before you jump online and get hammered by a clan. Multiplayer is kind of the main mode in Armored Core 5. Even your mission select screen centers around the coolest part of the game, a persistent world in which teams can take over and keep territory. This is where Armored Core 5 shines. Single player is a bit dull, and even co-op doesn't really save it from that. But being able to stamp your authority on a persistent world as a team, that's pretty cool. Taking territory means you have to offer up team points, which you kind of have to grind to get. But once you're attacking, it's like gambling. You can win more, or defeat means you lose it. No more team points means you can't attack for a while. There are real consequences to losing, and Armored Core gives you tools for planning and debriefing your clan battles. Each individual mech in a team will be resistant to a certain type of damage. What this translates to in a team battle is scanning enemies and finding out what they're weak to, then using what you have that's strong against them. There's also mech components that benefit the team within a certain radius, and as crazy as it sounds to apply the word stealth to a walking battleship, the landscape buildings provide useful cover. So team play can be anything from all-out brawls and ganks to ambushes and drawn-out snipe fests. It displays the same poking and prodding at enemy defenses as top competitive games like Counter-Strike. It's finding out where they're weak and hammering it, making it a 5v4. That guy's resistant to chemical weapons? Let's send our thermal sniper to the left. And that brings us to endgame. Watching some of the pros move around in this game really shows how much of a skill differential there is, and that's a good thing. It's not enough just to have a lot of numerical modifiers, depth for depth's sake. That depth has to crystallize in the late game into tough choices, mind games and trade-offs, strategy. Is it worth it at high levels of play? That's the question competitive gamers want answered before they invest 100 hours. For Armored Core 5, the answer is yes, at that high level of play. It seems to have as much tactical depth as normal clan games these days, but the more casual a player you are, the less fun you'll have.